Sir Toasty does some of the most unique, self-imposed challenges in the world of Pokemon YouTube. In his most popular upload, he famously collected every single Pokemon ribbon in the entire series at the time on a single Scizor. Some other incredible achievements include catching Palkia in every kind of Pokeball, and collecting every Pokemon Emerald base decoration. The process behind all these time-consuming challenges are also streamed live on his Twitch channel. Me and Sir Toasty have also known each other for quite a while, and we've had the same oddly specific YouTube journey. Toasty was once a Northernlion fan channel, creating humorous edits and compilations for the streamer, later transitioning to making videos about Pokemon, and I did exactly the same thing, if you can believe it. Thank you for joining me on the fridge, Sir Toasty. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's the Northernlion to Pokemon pipeline is very real.
Apparently, yeah. There's 2 of us so far. I wonder how many more we can convert to the truth. I'm glad to finally be chatting with you. And it is crazy that we've had that same journey.
It's funny considering how little Northernlion himself knows about Pokemon, and yet it's happened twice.
That is true. That whole saga with the Pokedoku thing, the Luxray, was quite funny. That was a good one.
It's very funny. You just like he walked into a minefield he had no way of knowing was there. The electric dark Luxray discourse.
I gotta admit, and it might ruffle some feathers, but it always amazes me how upset the Pokemon community gets at things that truly just don't matter at all. Like the most insignificant, like getting the typing wrong on Luxray. It's caused an entire outburst. It's just ridiculous.
It's truly impressive. I mean, he does learn Crunch though. Have we considered that angle?
And it's like every Pokemon that's green has to be grass type, apparently. But I don't know. Luxray looks like a dark type, I think.
It definitely could be. It's a more dark type than Morpeko, I'm gonna say it.
That was an effed up puzzle, by the way, because there's only one electric dark type in the whole series, and it's Morpeko. Who the hell knows that one? I probably would have forgotten that one.
And yeah, and the only reason they can use that, because they try to avoid 100% slots, is because there's 2 Morpeko forms. But we can't put every form of Arceus on the puzzle. For some reason. I am grateful that they leave off the other forms of Arceus. It made making that one answer Pokedoku bonus puzzle a lot easier. Can't do any of those type-based squares with mythicals with Arceus running around.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, it just is crazy to me that people think Pokemon has consistent logic with that kind of stuff. A lot of the typings are completely arbitrary and don't follow any sort of consistency.
Yep. I had somebody get mad at me on Twitter because I don't know, what's the doom scrolling, but you're just arguing with someone because you want to argue. But I had somebody get mad at me because I insinuated Houndstone should be a rock type.
Like Ghost Rock?
Even though,
yeah.
Yeah, like Houndstone, Spiritomb comes out of a rock. Runerigus is maybe the most rock non-rock type. It literally is a rock, and it's not. Like,
true,
they seem to be allergic to making a rock ghost type for some reason. And the same thing with Bug Dragon. Like, Goodra should have been a Bug Dragon type. Yanmega, I think, should have been a Bug Dragon type, and just give it Levitate if you're so worried about the ground immunity. Like, there's just certain type matchups that they just really don't want to make for some reason, even though they've been given so many opportunities.
Dragon is one of the most arbitrary ones. There's definitely heaps of dragon types that are not dragons whatsoever.
Yep, I'm gonna say it. Goodra should just be pure bug. Maybe bug water.
That would be interesting, like a pseudo-legendary pure bug. Anyway, I would like to ask you about your username, Sir Toasty. What's the story behind that one?
Yeah, so it is an old Neopets name, and not even one of mine. It's one of my brother's Neopets was named Sir Toasty, and always it was, what's the little alien gremlin? I can remember 1,000 Pokemon, but I can't remember like 2 Neopets.
Yeah, I also played Neopets. I can't remember any of the names of the Neopets. Actually, I can envision there's like a tiger that's blue.
Yeah, that one was always in the marketing. But there's like this little alien guy, and my brother put a pair of slippers on him, and now I wear slippers all the time. And so I just kind of lifted that name.
That's fun. Neopets is such a weird game.
Yeah, it's interesting to think like how much data is just sitting on the Neopets servers that is just starving Neopets. Terabytes of starving pets.
I watched this video about like the Neopets economy, and I think that they did this thing where you could convert old Neopets into the new style, but you could choose to do so. So that made it so that the old unconverted Neopets were really rare, and they were like because you couldn't get them anymore. So there was this whole economy in Neopets that went insane or something.
I'm surprised you can transfer Neopets. That feels like something they wouldn't want you to be able to do.
I don't know if they changed that system or what, but that was a whole drama within the community for a bit.
Yeah.
That
R.I.P.
game-
Flash Player.
Oh
He
yeah.
had the best Neopets games.
I think I watched like the Donkey Neopets video, and seeing those games again after so many years was like, how did we play those? Some of them were trash, honestly.
Dude, it's Snake, but the snake is like a squirrel.
Or
This is revolutionary gaming.
Is that one where there's just, you gotta wait until a dude zooms down a ski cliff and you gotta press the button at the exact time to shoot him?
Yeah, just like a whole bunch of like quick time events.
One of the worst games of all time.
They sure had a lot of them though, and some of them were sponsored by Capri Sun. I remember just so many like games that were just like deliberate ads, but they gave you in-game currency for playing them. So
Yeah, that was an interesting time with product placement.
I do remember when I made my Neopets account, the only email address I knew was my dad's, and he got an email at work saying, "Please confirm your registration for Neopets." I got really embarrassed about it.
Oh no, those sites always told you to use your parents' email.
Yep. I did not have my parents' permission before going online, I'll admit it.
How could you?
Yeah, the statute of limitations is probably up on that.
Were you into any of the other like online kids games from that era, like Club Penguin and all those?
Yes.
Club Penguin?
I played so many Club Penguin games, just like that was if I wasn't wasting my time on Club Penguin, it was probably because my mom's laptop overheated and I wasn't allowed to use it for the rest of the day.
I was a big Club Penguin head. I think the games in that were better than the games in Neopets. The minecart game was pretty sick. The surfing game.
I was very good at the fishing game. I
Oh,
could
that's a
always
classic
get the max score.
What else did they have
I
in that?
remember I bought the Wii tie-in game for Club Penguin, the Sporting Day one, because so that game was really weird for a few reasons. You could get items for Club Penguin in the game, but I don't remember how you transferred them. I have to assume it was some sort of just like code, and they just hoped people wouldn't post the code online, even though it was probably already online by the time the game launched. And then you could also, like, you could store your like, the Wii remote had storage. So you could, like, move data between Wiis by storing it in the Wii remote. And I remember you had to do that for certain items in the game. You had to go to another Wii and play with, like, a penguin from a different Wii's memory. And the only reason I bought that game is because one of the unlockable items, they were all themed around the colors of the teams. If you won with the yellow team enough, you could get the golden Viking helmet. And all the Club Penguin fan sites said that the golden Viking helmet was really rare. And so I was like, well, you gotta. It's like a $30 mid sports game, but you get a gold Viking helmet. And then you could wear the stuff without the membership, which was also pretty nice as a kid who did not have Club Penguin membership for a majority of the years that I played.
Yeah, there were always the weird items you could get as a free-to-play account.
Yeah, it's just like here's like a single pizza apron, but if you're a member, you can get a pizza apron with this like pizza emote where you like toss a pizza in the air.
I did always want to be a Club Penguin member, but I don't know. I feel like the members always looked a bit ridiculous. They had like sunglasses and like a hoodie and
when you can
all
wear
this
everything,
ridiculous
it's
stuff.
hard to coordinate an outfit. I remember being so like into collecting the rare Club Penguin stuff. Like I would look at all the sites and be like, oh, what's the coolest, like most exclusive stuff? Like, oh, this was only given out like at this event this one year, or there was like an old like yellow and pink party hat that you could only get like the launch week of Club Penguin. And I was like, I want that hat.
That
just
stuff was
because
so
it's
cool.
rare.
Those rare items in those old games.
Yeah,
I had this like blue shirt with a snowflake on it. I think that was rare.
I remember all the like NPC characters that like if you were in the same room as them, you could get like a picture with them and make it like your background. I don't think I ever saw one of those. Yeah, Rockhopper was like the most popular one. I don't think I ever saw them, but I did get credited. They like had a stamp book achievement system in the later years, and a lot of the achievements were just like meeting specific NPCs. And I think I got credited with meeting, what's the blue nerd penguin? His name is like Gary or something.
I don't remember that
I got
one.
credited with meeting him. So I guess I must have entered a room or tried to enter a room where he was in during an event, but I don't think I ever saw him. I just got the achievement.
That is such a cool concept though. Those like, how do you describe it? Staff controlled like NPCs.
Oh yeah, like
Rare
honestly,
encounters.
it honestly kind of reminds me of like the Blendmaster and Emerald. Just like here's a rare NPC who does a cool thing. You might see him. It's very like very good playground rumor fuel.
Absolutely.
Chat with your friends on the playground. Oh man, I saw Rockhopper. No, I can't show you the profile background I got. It's on my other account. That is definitely real.
Wasn't that a fun and mystical time?
Truly the golden age of gaming.
Did you ever play Toontown Online? That was another Disney, like Disney MMO.
So my brother did get to play Toontown, and I have no idea why this happened, but everyone in his kindergarten class, I'm gonna assume some kid did this for their birthday or something, some rich kid, but everyone in his kindergarten class one day got like a voucher for like a month of Toontown.
No way.
And so I never got to play Toontown, but he did get to play a free month of it. This is the same brother that I named myself after one of their Neopets. You can tell he was a cool gamer.
That would have been Christmas morning if that happened to me. I used to just keep making free trial accounts on Toontown. I could play for 2 days. That's how I learned to like create new emails to game the system at like age 8.
We're getting so many new users. That's why I never trust those commercials that are like, we have over 3 million players every day, and it's like, no, you don't. You have like maybe
True.
1 million, and 2/3 of those emails are free trials.
So maybe that quest to grind for the golden Viking helmet was a precursor to the way you would approach Pokemon in the future. Grinding for the shiny rare item.
True. I've always had an addictive personality when you can promise me something rare and cool at the end, even if it is completely digital and made up.
What drew you to the Pokemon ribbon system in particular?
So back in, and I should probably get the correct date on this. Let's see. This is back when Gen 7 was current. March 2019, John Stone made a video where he got every ribbon on a Fortress, a Shadow Fortress from XD Gale of Darkness. And in late 2018, I had just happened to have bought XD Gale of Darkness from my local game store for about $25. So let that sink in how the Pokemon collectible market was back then. And so I was like, well, I'm playing through this game anyway. He started with XD Gale of Darkness, and it would be a fun thing to grab one of these Shadow Pokemon and make them a Ribbon Master. And so I grabbed Bolt the Zapdos, whose name is a Magic the Gathering reference, Bolt the Bird. And so that was my first Ribbon Master. I had all the games, and I was like, this seems like a fun challenge. And indeed it was. I finished that quest. I want to say it was definitely before any of like BDSP or Legends Arceus was announced. So I think it was right around when the Crown Tundra released, because that's when Zapdos got added to Sword and Shield. And so then after doing that first one in late 2021, I had just, started doing streaming. It was I started doing streaming basically just for one game, and it was Spelunky 2. Because there is a 99 level gauntlet you have to do. You don't have to do it.
The Cosmic Ocean.
Real gamers have to. A 99 level gauntlet. And for people who know Spelunky, that game is very punishing of mistakes. You step on the wrong tile, you hang around in one spot for like 3 seconds, the game just kills you. And so that game, having to do 99 floors of that with basically no mistakes. There were a lot of people who had done it. I say a lot. At that point, it was maybe like a double-digit number of people who had done it. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I had been playing Spelunky 2 since launch, so I was decently good at it. If I'm going to do it, I might as well stream it. I have all the stuff. I don't need a mic because I'm just playing Spelunky 2. And so I just started playing Spelunky 2, and I eventually moved into Don't Starve Together. In early 2021, I played that with Kate Lovely Momo and Sant and a couple other people. And then I started doing Pokemon streams because, I like playing Pokemon. I might as well play it with an audience. And I'm like, well, my local game store has a copy of Pokemon Coliseum. I can shiny hunt in that game, so I'll shiny hunt on stream, and then I'll do a ribbon challenge with the shiny Togetic that I eventually get. I do not have a shiny Shadow Togetic, even to this day. I got 10,000 resets into the hunt. It's a 1 in 8192 hunt because there's no way to raise the odds in Generation 3. And I went online and I'm like, you know what would be a cooler Pokemon than Togetic? Is Scizor, because Scizor is iconic. It's a strong Pokemon. Like, imagine bringing a Togetic through every battle facility. And you can shiny hunt it, but the only Shadow Scizor is in Colosseum. There's a Shadow Scyther in XD Gale of Darkness, but that one is shiny lock because they figured out how to actually shiny lock them for that game. And so I went online. I got the e-reader cards. There happened to be a very generously priced listing. Those things usually go for about $1,000. I got them for $600. And I got the cards. I did all the e-reader room battles on stream, and then in early 2022, I caught the shiny Scizor. I had probably my most energetic shiny reaction I've ever had on stream. Some people give me flack for not having good shiny reactions, but it's just I don't know if my tone of voice carries across this, but I'm not a very energetic person in general. And the reason that shiny reaction went like that is I was eating a sandwich while shiny hunting, and when the shiny popped up, I had to not only like say something because we just got the shiny, but also I had to not choke on my sandwich. And so it came out as this very weird like forced spit take, and it was just like I get a lot of jokes about what I did to my pants that day. And so yeah, then I on stream I went through and did all the ribbons. It is funny, I got a YouTube comment saying that my Scizor was clearly hacked, and then I was just like, this is maybe one of the most well-documented Pokemon in existence. What are you talking about? So yeah, hopefully Toast the Scizor gets to go to every Pokemon game. I'm hoping Black and White 3 have at least the full Gen 5 national decks. I don't know how they're gonna handle it, because it's gonna be weird. Like, is the Black and White 3 gonna have King Gambit? Who knows? So I'm hoping Toast gets to go to every region they ever make. I've got a Pikachu as a backup, because let's see you cut that one game.
They'll probably keep Scizor in every game. That's an iconic.
Like, they
guy.
gotta, like, it's just like so cool. Unless you're gonna do another Let's Go with actual ribbons, don't do that.
It's an awesome concept to, bring a Pokemon through every single game. It's kind of cool that you can transfer them all the way up from Gen 3.
Yeah, I actually I heard there was an Umbreon Zacian team in a tournament that I think it was today. I don't know what VGC tournaments are on at any given day. Was it LA Regionals that was like today or yesterday?
I don't know.
But
either.
there was like an Umbreon Zacian team that top 16'd, and apparently the Umbreon is a ribbon master. So it's really cool to see people like personalizing their teams with old favorites and showing off just how many things they've been through.
That's fun. That's something about Pokemon though that I find weird, is that because you can generate Pokemon, it kind of devalues the legitimate ones that actually are natural shinies with all these ribbons and all these traits.
Right. But yeah, I get a lot of that just like on these challenge videos. Like, people will be like, oh, you spent, I don't know, 50 hours playing through Legends Arceus to catch 10 Palkias. I just booted up PK Hex and did it in an afternoon. And I'm like, that's not the same thing. We both know that's not the same thing. It's
I guess you know that it's
why go
legit.
Get a degree? The printers are $20 at Office Depot. It's the doing of the thing that matters.
And I think it's admirable. It's very time consuming. And it's also a story that Scizor going through every single region, collecting all the ribbons. It's fun. So it's a little...
Let people put titles on their Pokemon in Showdown. I want to use Gouging Fire, the reliable partner.
Oh, yeah?
Honestly, I don't know how much people on Showdown care for, like, aesthetics. I've seen, like, people with, like, all shiny teams on Showdown, but that's just, like, a series of checkmark boxes, isn't it? So I guess it's up just to personal preference at that point.
Yeah. As a mostly Showdown player, I don't really care about all that stuff. But it's a very popular side of the game, the shiny hunting.
I guess it matters for like Gen 4 Raikou. If you don't have a shiny, they know it can't have those event moves.
Yeah, there are some instances where being shiny or not shiny is optimal. Sometimes on my streams, people request Pokemon for me to use, and they ask for it to be shiny. I'm like, sorry, I can't make it shiny, because if it's shiny, it's like an event Pokemon and it can't get Baton Pass or something, and it really needs Baton Pass or it sucks.
Yeah, Zapdos, actually. The Shadow Zapdos I used was Baton Pass. I kept that move all the way to Gen 8, where they finally gave it back as a TR. Still waiting on Extra Sensory, though. Some of those Shadow moves are actually pretty interesting, though. Lugia gets Psycho Boost as a Shadow move. And I doubt that's super meta relevant, but it doesn't mean that you can have a Psycho Boost Lugia legitimately all the way up in Sword and Shield. But they didn't program Psycho Boost in because they didn't program in Deoxys, so why would they bother?
I don't think that'd be that good on Lugia. That's interesting, though. We got a question from Twitter, from Polaris, who asked, how do you know so much about the mechanics in each game? It's impossible for someone to have such knowledge and not get lost in it.
I think it's both immersion in just doing a lot of Pokemon for a long time. Like, you know, you learn the type matchup chart eventually just by kind of vibes. But a lot of it is just, I don't have a face cam, so you can't see me go over to Bulbapedia every 2 seconds to actually confirm how something works. I hate giving out misinformation, so I will do my best to verify that something works the way I think it does before spreading lies. That's when I did the Gen 3 decoration video. I didn't want to make that video done until I knew exactly how the Blend Master and that rooftop sail spawned. Part of it was I couldn't, because until somebody figured it out for me, someone went through the Emerald decomp and figured out the mechanics. Shout out to the Kraken in the Pokemon Ribbons Discord. I just couldn't make that video because the knowledge just wasn't out there on the internet. And so I couldn't tell people how to actually get these decorations until I had gotten them, and I couldn't get them until I had the knowledge. And the same thing actually happened with the Gen 2 decorations video. There were 3 decorations assumed to only be obtainable from Stadium 2, but no one had ever recorded proof of them actually obtaining any of them. And as it turns out, one of them just wasn't coded into the game. The Unknown Doll, they just didn't make part of Stadium 2. But the other 2, they just messed up the RNG. The reason no one had ever seen a photo of it, they just couldn't happen in the game as coded. And so it would be entirely possible in a situation like that for me to be like, no one's ever seen these. I don't have them. The mystery's still unsolved. But if I'm going to make a video where I get every decoration, I want to make sure that means every decoration. So I'll track down that information, or I won't make the video. And so being accurate is a lot of knowing what you know and knowing what things it is essential to Google.
Good answer. A mix of experience and diligence, research, and double checking everything.
Exactly.
Eventually lead to the growth of knowledge. In terms of your YouTube channel as a job, have you thought about becoming a full-time YouTuber, or are you already?
So I'm a student, but eventually I will have to quote unquote get a real job. But the thing is, like, currently this all like does keep me afloat. So it would be very nice to just do this forever, but it's not an infinite well of ideas for sure. And I do think I'll have to reassess once student loan payments come due, I think is the real axis of whether I'll be able to do this full time. But it is very nice to just, like, you know, people say do what you love and you'll never work. Do what you love when you love it. Like, don't turn things into like a life or death career if you can, because then you'll stop loving it, but then it's still your job, so then you start to resent it. I've done this a couple times, if you can't tell. I've tried to go into fields where I'm like, oh, that looks neat. Nope. Once you do it 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, you will no longer think it's neat. So that's kind of always been my my philosophy with YouTube video making, as it were. If I think it's a fun idea and I would like to see that video exist, I make it, because like I can just do that. I can go out and make a video about it. And if I think it's neat, hopefully at least one other person will think it's neat, and then it'll, you know, all be worth it. And so basically, like, if I think it's a fun idea, then I'll do it. And if I don't think it's a fun idea, then, well, hopefully I won't have to do it. And that's kind of where I think about, if I have to depend on this as a livelihood, will it eventually turn into more of a burden? Remains to be seen.
That's the classic dilemma. turning the hobby into the job.
Right.
I will say that, as I've transitioned to full-time YouTube, it's not quite the same as it was in the past when there wasn't as much writing on it. I didn't depend on it for my income because I could just not upload if I wanted to. And
right, you can just walk away and say, "No, I'll do something else." But when it's how you make your money, eventually you got to come back.
It was just whenever inspiration or desire to make something struck, I would make a video. But I do prefer this over, other possible career paths for me. So
definitely. That is actually basically what led me onto the Pokemon path, because when I got those e-reader cards, I was already planning to make the ribbon video, but when I got those e-reader cards, I was still full swing doing the Northernlion edits, and I was just like, hey, there's this weird e-reader card that has a shiny Salamence on it. What if I tried to catch it? And then I made that into a video. And then I was like, that was fun. Here's a Nut Pea Berry card. What if I make a bunch of Pokeblocks using that fun meme Nut Pea Berry strat where you make like 200 Pokeblocks and max out your contest stats? And so it just kind of became a daisy chain of like, oh, this would be a fun Pokemon idea. And so it was really just like, this would be fun, let's do it. And then that kind of blew up.
So it sounds like you don't have too much pressure to keep coming up with ideas. You just...
I've still got a good backlog, but if I run out of ideas, I might make something else. I might try and sit down and force out more ideas, but I think it'll just be sort of vibes thing.
My philosophy is just to be completely spontaneous, like brainstorm a couple ideas, pick one, and then just do it. And sometimes actually challenging yourself to commit to an idea quickly leads to pretty good videos, because you're just forcing yourself to get the gears turning and come up with a compelling storyline or video concept around something that spontaneously thought of.
Yeah, you gotta kind of stretch that idea out, gotta flesh it out without having thought about it for weeks beforehand.
Yeah, and it builds the creative muscle as well when you just do it more often. Speaking of the Northernlion edits, how did you get into doing that? How did you start watching Northernlion and decide to make edited compilations of his streams?
So the farthest back I can think of is I started watching Northernlion very classically playing The Binding of Isaac. I want to say somewhere midway through the regular base game Isaac stuff. And that was basically all I watched from him for a while. And then I started watching the streams. I don't think I had a Twitch account at that time. And annoyingly, somebody has been sitting on the Sir Toasty Toes Twitch username for, I think, at least 8 years now. And they're clearly active enough that Twitch hasn't put it back up for grabs. So that's annoying.
Sucks. That's annoying.
But I want to say around 2016, I started actually chatting in his streams. And then in, I think, December 2018 at this point, Gelmerlicious, the author of the Northernlion Salt Shaker, another Northernlion edits series, made a post saying, hey, Vegas Pro 14 is in the Humble Bundle right now. It's like $25. And I said, so I had my parents get that as my Christmas present. And then I just started making what felt fun to make. My first video is literally just a clip of Bear Taffy playing RimWorld, where he calls down an orbital strike, and I put the 1812 overture over top of it. And that was the first one. And I was like, that was fun. And then I just kept going.
The magic of cinema.
I eventually found my niche as that guy who just does a topic and just grabs a ton of clips of that topic. I'll be like, wouldn't it be funny if somebody took all the times the NLSS has talked about spaghetti and turned that into a video? And so I'd do it. And eventually I was just in college, and I was like, it'd be nice to have a Patreon for this sort of thing, so people can support the channel and give me suggestions. And so that ran for a while. I mean, it's still running, but I don't take viewer suggestions for the NLSS stuff anymore, because we've kind of tapped the well at this point. It's now it's just I still do make Northernlion edits. It's just very sporadic. It just takes that right idea. Last year I was watching them play Jackbox, and Mouth was given his usual chaotic, riddled with misspelling answers, and I'm like, I haven't made a video about Mouth's misspellings in a while. I wonder if there's enough of that for a good video. And so I made it. And so it's kind of funny. I don't think I'll ever escape being a Northernlion guy, and at this point I don't think I'll ever escape being a Pokemon guy as well, because every time I upload something related to Northernlion, people are like, whoa, my favorite Pokemon YouTuber also watches Northernlion. And if I ever upload a Pokemon video, I get at least one comment saying, whoa, I know you from Northernlion stuff, you do Pokemon too? And so I'm just both now. And
I have the same experience. How funny.
and I do still moderate in Northernlion's Twitch chat. I'm a known quantity around there. That was just a weird pipeline where I made a Darkest Dungeon mod of people in the NLSS while Mouth was playing Darkest Dungeon, and so I became a VIP in his channel for doing that. And then eventually I became a mod in Mouth's channel. And sometime in like June 2020, Northernlion was like, hey, we need more mods. Who do you recommend? He was asking Mouth at the time. And so just a bunch of us Mouth mods became Northernlion mods. And now I kind of get recognized everywhere in that streaming bubble, because I moderate for, I think, at least 5 or 6 people in that circle. And so my name just keeps popping up and people are like, hey, aren't you that guy?
2020 you became a mod.
Sometime around there, yeah.
What's that like, being a mod for Northernlion? There's some interesting chatters in there. The chat audits are some of the funniest content.
His chat is very interesting. It's, I think because he's not like very many other streamers on the platform, his chat is also not like very many others. There's like all these known quantities that you're like, oh, that's just how that person is. That person's not being like combative. That's just like, you know, that's just Hot Boy Toke. Like that paragraph of Jar Jar Binks fan fiction, that's just how they are. But then like, he also has a very unorthodox modding policy where basically we only really there are a couple rules, like you can't post anything in there, but for the most part we only really keep out feelers for like the really insane people, you know, like if you can think of a reason you would get like auto banned from like Twitch, that's the sort of person we're looking at for. And then also like people who like attack or insult co-hosts, because Ryan, for the most part, he moderates the people who come after him almost like scarily well. Like he'll see like one person, you know, throw an insult his way like in 2,000 messages in 5 seconds, and he will just rip into them. Like you can find so many videos that are just like, Northernlion absolutely deletes a chatter from existence, with like some of the most like SAT word laden like insults, like you didn't even know that was something you could call someone, and then just like they go, I'm sorry, monka ass, and then they're off the hook. It's a very strange place.
It is pretty funny how he just publicly shames specific chatters. I don't know if it's like it's definitely unique.
It's like feeling the gaze of Sauron, just like someone specific's name gets said and everyone just like clears a circle around them from the crowd just to kind of avoid his withering glare.
It's been very interesting seeing his channel evolve over the years. I watched him back in 2013. And I feel like back then he had a more professional style. He was kind of like Total Biscuit Jr. with the Let's Look At series and stuff like that.
Yep, it's kind of I won't say child friendly, because old NL uses maybe like 10 times the swear words, but it was definitely like a more succinct version of what was Total Biscuit's WTF is.
Yeah.
Very, very similar styles.
And that was a different era back then, where Let's Plays were like profitable and successful somehow. Just a guy.
Right. I remember my first moment on stream was the subscriber special, because he used to do Sunday subscriber streams where only subscribers could chat, but people could still watch, because Twitch hadn't invented the, you know, subscriber exclusive stuff yet. And the first stream I tuned in was like the finale of his New Vegas playthrough, where because one of his mods who was keeping him like sane throughout the whole thing, like telling him not to like do the most heinous things, they were out that day, and so he nuked both factions because they weren't there to tell him not to. And that was my first introduction to stream Northernlion.
Yeah, it was interesting the difference. Like the NLSS VODs were a whole different person to like the other videos. It's been cool seeing his channel just like him become more comfortable expressing his sense of humor in his videos and stuff. Being known now as like
Right,
one of the
like-
funniest streamers on Twitch, which
Yeah, he plays what he wants now, which is you can definitely see like the I think the tipping point was the Dark Souls 2 playthrough where he only used the fist weapons, and something just broke him during that playthrough, that he just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna play what I want to play. And so now even we mods don't know the docket in advance. Like, he just plays what either what he wants to or what does well on YouTube. Sometimes things die because they don't do well analytically, but I think he's definitely doing what he likes to do these days, which is very nice to see.
you've been playing Balatro much?
None at all, actually. I have
Really?
been too deep in the Pokemon mines doing very menial things. I'm like, man, I would love to play other games, but like, I gotta dig up 100 fossils because the game told me to.
Don't you get burnt out on that? You want some variety? It's just grinding.
I mean, but that's the thing about streaming it, is it's like, it's grinding it, but like, you got 50 other people that are like, hey, this is the best mining stream I've watched, and you're like, yes,
I guess it's
validation.
chill. Some chill grinding.
Yeah, my streams are not very little talking, but if I don't have something to say, I just won't talk, which is maybe bad for like analytics, but it is very nice for cutting up footage because I don't have to talk over myself.
Have you ever played any other like MMOs or grindy games with a similar style?
I'm trying to think if I have, and I don't think so.
Club
Just
Penguin for
like-
the Wii.
Club Penguin. Okay, that game was a little fun. It wasn't super grindy. It was just kind of a mini game collection, but they weren't terrible. I'm trying to think, what's the game I had the most time in other than Pokemon? It might be Enter the Gungeon. I do a lot of roguelikes. Like, I'll latch on to a game and I will just play that. Oh no, it's not Enter the Gungeon. What am I saying? It's Don't Starve Together. I've played 8,000 in-game days, which is not real life days of Don't Starve Together, but an in-game day of Don't Starve Together is 8 minutes. So you do the math, 64,000 minutes of Don't Starve Together. And that's just kind of like my grind game if I don't have any super pressing Pokemon grinds, basically. That world from, like, it's a permadeath crafting game, but that world from when I was talking about, like, the history of my Twitch channel, like, early 2021, that's still the same Don't Starve world today. Like,
There you go.
I've been playing that Don't Starve world for 3 years on stream at this point, so I'm definitely easily lured in by the promise of this will look cool if you spend enough time on it. It is actually a miracle I haven't been lost to the World of Warcraft or RuneScape abysses yet.
You would probably love RuneScape.
I'm
played a bit of
maybe
that.
a little bit afraid of what I might see in the reflection.
That could be a content pivot even. You could quickly become like a RuneScape legend.
RuneScape collection challenges.
I don't think they've seen
be
a
the play.
grinder to your level in that game before. Maybe that's probably not true actually. There's some insane RuneScapers. Yeah, I used to love the grindy games, but as I've gotten older, there's less time for such a thing. I prefer games that just get right to the action. So I've really enjoyed Balatro. Feels very snappy and like just fun immediately.
I definitely think there's got to be like not a point because it's all digital, but like I don't really mesh well with like your cookie clicker type of games, your Pokerogues. Look, I'm not saying Pokerogue is cookie clicker, but I
didn't like Pokerogue either.
I am
fond of it.
saying that it is one of those games where eventually the point of it is just number go up. And like there has to be some sort of like hook to it. Like with ribbons, I can point to every ribbon on Scizor and I can explain what I had to do and what achievement that represents, and like probably tell you like a story about like what I was doing when I was getting that ribbon on stream. With like a game like Cookie Clicker, I'm like, yeah, I made like, a number of cookies so large they had to invent a new word for it, but like how much of that was just me like watching the number go up? Like I don't feel like a personal connection to the achievement.
That's true. Yeah, there's got to be a bit more than literally just clicking a button or like waiting.
Right.
You got to actively engage with something at some point.
And that's why like I resent the the people in the comments who are like, well, you could just gen this and like save yourself all that hassle, but like then there's nothing to tell. Then there would be no video. It'd just be like a video of me booting up PK Hex and checking a bunch of boxes. Like, you know, it's about the story. It's about the journey rather than the destination, if I can get a bit cliche. Although the destination is nice too, because you can say things like 100 ribbons on one Pokemon, which isn't true of Scizor. Hopefully by I don't know, I think by like maybe Gen 11 we'll get to 100 ribbons again.
Yeah, that's a silly thing to say. Obviously it's different to generate the guy versus actually doing it.
Sometimes I wonder if they just want to get into an argument.
That's probably what it is, yeah. You're into Magic the Gathering, aren't you, as well?
Yes, so maybe to an embarrassing degree, but that is basically my only socialization outside of like, you can call streaming socialization at this point. It's like, you know, we're past that, like streaming isn't actually like real communication, like event horizon. Like this isn't like 2011 anymore. Like surprise, surprise, I don't get out much because I'm playing a lot of Pokemon. And so, like, if I didn't force myself not to stream on Fridays to go play Magic the Gathering, I probably wouldn't leave the house much at all. And so, I only play one format. It's a Commander, which is a very popular social format. It's got all these kind of, you know, it's kind of a social minefield playing Commander with random people. It's supposed to be a fun game of Magic, but then, like, you get someone who, like, wins on turn 3, and then everybody's like, well, what'd we even come out here to play Magic for if we're not even going to play much Magic? And so it's kind of a nightmare of a format to play sometimes just because of the people, but I spend an embarrassing amount of money on it as well, so, you know. Not sunk cost fallacy, like I know, you know, these cardboard rectangles aren't worth anything in the long run, but like they are a fun hobby, so I might as well keep buying them. That's how you know they've got you. You think you're not in all the way, but you absolutely are.
That sounds like a dangerous rabbit hole. I've really loved many digital card games and thought about getting into Magic as well. Perhaps when I'm retired. Sounds time consuming and expensive.
When you've got that money to spend on whatever you want.
Hopefully.
You can get the cardboard with the funny words written on it.
That's the dream of wealth, being able to play Magic finally.
I may never be able to buy a house as a Zoomer. We're Zoomers, probably, at this point. No one knows what the generational divides are.
I think I'm technically like
anyway.
the tail end of a millennial, but I don't know.
But, you know, you may never be able to buy a house, but you can transmute what you would have spent on your mortgage into to funny
Into
cards.
the fantasy land where perhaps you do own a home.
Exactly.
In the land of... Is there like a name for the MTG world?
It's just the multiverse. There's a lot of specific planes, but none of them matter.
That's where I live.
That's what Magic the Gathering appeals to, the power fantasy of owning land.
I've been told about that Magic is just the best card game of all time.
It is interesting. They've been increasingly doing like crossovers. Like there was a big Lord of the Rings one recently. That one actually made like real news headlines because like Post Malone they printed a bunch. So they've been doing these serialized cards. I don't personally care for them, but they get the collectors going. Basically, like for a while now, they've been like, this card will have a unique art and treatment, and it'll have a little serial number telling you which one it is of that run, and it's usually like 500. And then they're just scattered across the nations. And someone in, I think it was Canada, they printed one copy of the One Ring from the Lord of the Rings set. And this one had like unique art and like a unique foiling and like a gold frame. And someone opened it and sold it to Post Malone for upwards of $2 million. So that made like real news headlines, and so they've been doing all these crossovers, and it kind of seems like they're kind of pivoting Magic into more of a game system. Like, not to say that they're abandoning like their IP. Like, you know, some people will decry them for like crossovering with like Transformers and be like, this isn't the Magic I grew up with, when the Magic they grew up with is like...
But did they actually do Transformers?
They did. So Hasbro owns both, so that one was probably just really easy to do IP-wise. But back in somewhere in the mid 2010s. I want to say like around 2017. They did like a set of joke cards, and one of them was a Transformers character. It was Grimlock. And one of them was another thing they've actually crossed over with was a Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, which was a parody of an existing card type. And they made one that was Dungeons and Dragons themed, and then they crossed over with Dungeons and Dragons a couple years ago.
Well,
and then the last one was
crossover.
yeah, the last one was Nerf War, which is a card that lets you shoot Nerf darts at your opponent's cards. That one hasn't gotten a crossover yet officially, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time. And so now they've crossed over with so many things now. The Walking Dead getting right in at the height of their popularity at like 2018. Stranger Things. There was a Hatsune Miku one that was like really recent.
I had no idea about any of this. That's crazy.
And yeah, they've announced like Assassin's Creed. We've seen a couple cards from. They announced that Marvel is doing like a full crossover set. Like the way they phrased it, it sounds like it's going to be like a ton of Marvel cards. I think they said like multiple releases, which usually means like at least 1,000 cards. So it definitely seems like they're pivoting into sort of being like not only their own brand, but hey, look at this existing extremely popular card game system. Wouldn't you rather, instead of building your own failed Marvel card game that rots on Dollar Tree shelves, why don't you exist under the Magic the Gathering umbrella, and you'll have an existing player base that already plays your game. And so it's an interesting direction they're taking it. There's definitely a lot of Magic purists who are like, this is going too far, this isn't the game I like, I'm gonna leave and go do something else. But I haven't been outwardly, taken aback by any of the crossovers. They did a Fallout one recently, which is definitely the most like technological and sci-fi they've gone with it. No, that's a lie. They did a Warhammer one. That's definitely more sci-fi. But like, it's definitely weird to see like, here's Mr. House from Fallout New Vegas, and he's gonna duke it out with Optimus Prime and the Tyranids from Warhammer. And
that's pretty absurd.
That's just how Magic the Gathering is now.
It's like those Yu-Gi-Oh card memes you used to see online of like, I don't know, Goku as a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Because that could actually happen.
Man, you still cannot Google a Pokemon's name without one of those popping up. Like, you'll Google, like, Turtwig, and there'll be, like, Turtwig level X with 10 million HP, and it goes off the card frame because whatever custom card site they used didn't allow for that. And then it'll just have, like, an attack that costs, like, one of every color of energy, and it's, like, Turtwig murder, and it just says, like, Turtwig kills your opponent. There's so many of those.
That's classic.
It's very early internet. Card generators were definitely one of the fandom's more interesting moments.
I can't believe this Magic crossover stuff. That's unreal.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit
it's
dystopian. It's like how every movie is like a multiverse, chucking every IP in there.
But
that
Magic was already a multiverse. What does this mean for that?
I
now
guess
you've got
so.
a multiverse with another multiverse attached.
Is there like law? Does it break the law that Iron Man is fighting whatever Magic card?
So yes. So I'm also a Magic lore nerd, so this is a perfect question. But the existing Magic multiverse, any crossover stuff doesn't technically exist. Like in the lore of the card game, you are just two planeswalking wizards duking it out, and when one of you loses, they just leave, and the other guy gets to keep the plane. And anytime you summon something, you're not actually bringing you're not actually bringing a real grizzly bear from its home plane to the battlefield. You're just summoning like a copy of it. And that's why you can kill off named characters.
But in canon, you are summoning a hologram of Iron Man or whatever to fight for you.
So you're just like a wizard who knows what Iron Man looks like.
That's crazy.
When you open a booster pack, you're just learning new spells.
I suppose there's some consistent logic to that. It's a bit bizarre though. And are those sets like tournament legal and everything? That's like the official new set of Fallout?
It's tricky because they love to make sets that are legal in one place and then not the other. And then, like, it used to be just formats were like this time period minus these cards that we had to ban. So, like, you have Modern, which is like everything from 8th edition, which was like 2001 up to present. But now you have sets that are like Modern Horizons, which is only modern, not standard, which is just sets released from this time period. So now you have sets released from this time period, but not these ones, but yes, these ones. And also sometimes sets just have commander decks stapled onto them, like one of the newest Modern Horizons set, Modern Horizons 3, just has 4 commander decks stapled onto it, which are only legal in Commander, and a couple of other formats where everything's legal, but not in Modern, but they have the name Modern Horizons. And so you just end up with like cards all end up legal in these 2 old formats, Legacy and Vintage. And Vintage is basically everything is legal. Anything that's extremely strong, you can only play one of. So like, you know, the poster child for broken expensive Magic cards, Black Lotus, is only legal in Vintage. And then what ends up happening is Legacy, which is like Vintage, but we actually ban the problematic stuff. You end up with decks that are like, I'm playing pre-war formal wear from Fallout in my mono white deck because it's just a really good card. And so you do end up seeing these crossover cards in certain formats. Like the entire Lord of the Rings set is modern legal. They just decided that it would be. And so you see these, there's the One Ring is actually playable in that format, as are Orcish Bowmasters. Just these 2 random orcs from Lord of the Rings are one of the best cards in Modern. And so players just kind of have to deal with that now. Like it's eventually some card is going to be so busted in your format that you're going to have to play with the crossover stuff. And how players receive that information is definitely a mixed bag, as is with all fandoms.
Just imagining like the Wojak crying image or something as the One Ring gets set on the field and your immersion is broken.
Yeah.
That shouldn't exist.
And the only way to beat it is playing your own One Ring. But now there are 2 One Rings.
It's ruined everything. It's all over. You got any rare, like, Jim Joker dipped in Mama Liz's chili oil, super rare Magic cards?
I kind of hate that I know what that means. I don't tend to collect Magic cards as like investments, but I do have some expensive ones. Yeah, like you'll see some people who are like, I bought up 10 copies of this card because I know it's $40 now, but it's going to go to like $300 next year.
Seen some discourse around like Pokemon cards where people are furious at the finance people getting into it and kind of ruining everything.
Yeah, it's
just like literally investing in Charizard or whatever.
Gotta buy all the Charizard tins so I can sell them for twice the price on eBay. It's my job.
Ridiculous.
Gotta see that footage of people just walking down the Target aisle, knocking all the Pokemon merch into their cart. But I don't collect cards in that sort of way. Like if I have a rare card, I want to play it, or if it's expensive and I can't play it anywhere, I'm just gonna get rid of it by like selling it. I'm not gonna like light it on fire. Then maybe the person who pulled the One of One Ring did kind of chicken out by not throwing it into a volcano.
True.
Would you throw a card into a volcano instead of selling it for $2 million?
You'd make more off the video in ad revenue, so it's an investment, and it's a tax write-off or something.
10 billion view YouTube video incoming. But yeah, the most expensive card I own, I think, is at this point Lion's Eye Diamond. Let's see. Let me just double check. Do my due diligence. No, it's Mox Diamond. So they're both very old cards, and the only reason I own them is because I went to a Magic convention. It was a Command Fest, which is just like a Magic convention, but it's all the Commander players. And so I just kind of like, I took all the cards I don't play that are worth a bit, and I just basically gave them all to a vendor for credit, and then I just bought cards that would be fun to have. And then so that's why like I just traded in like maybe a decade's worth of collection for a couple expensive cards. So that would definitely be the rarest card I own. What's really heartbreaking though is I considered buying a Mox Diamond back in like 2017 for $60.
Is it worth like?
And so
what's it worth now?
It's like $600 now.
That's 10x.
So,
You should have bought like 50 of
exactly.
them.
I should have become a Magic Finance bro with no disposable income at 17.
That's insane returns. You don't get that on the S&P 500.
That's the thing is, like, I don't remember what the exact number is, but past a certain threshold, Magic cards literally outvalue gold, like, by weight. They're literally worth their weight in gold.
That's
eventually.
That's insane.
It's definitely a strange world, the world of collectibles.
It's like it's like an infinite money scheme for them. It's literally cardboard.
I remember as a kid, like, I got into Magic maybe 2012. And I remember as a kid, I loved playing white-black decks. And so I was always like looking up like what are the best white-black cards. And one of them is they're called dual lands because they produce 2 colors of mana. And the original dual lands are like they're playable in very few places, but Commander is one of them, and Commander is an extremely popular format, so they're very expensive. But they didn't always used to be that way. Like I remember looking up the white-black dual land, ironically called Scrubland, and it was like $25 when I first got into the game, and now they're like $300. And so you think about that and you're like, man, if I had just asked my parents to like take me to the card store and let me pick out like $100 worth of cards every birthday and Christmas, like I could have been rich. I should have speculated my entire future on this thing I had no idea would be expensive.
Should have seen the future, folks. I think my
And
older
honestly,
brother had some first edition Pokemon cards that would have been really valuable, but I think we lost them
so
or
you
something.
kind of see the same thing happening to the old Pokemon games. Like now that gremlins like me are aging into the age where we have like 40% of a paycheck to throw at whatever we want, assuming we're not putting 80% of it towards rent or avocado toast or whatever we buy these days. Like a copy of like Leaf Green and Fire Red is getting up there. It's like $90 to $100, and like the Gen 4 and 5 games, you see the like people post pictures of like $225 for just like loose cartridge, like black and white.
Pretty ridiculous. It's like they can't actually be worth that. I guess the demand is so high, maybe.
Right. There's like a factory sealed emerald at one of my local game stores, and it's like $2,000.
Damn.
So like I don't know if there's anyone buying it for that much, but it's getting expensive to do everything on hardware.
Screw precious metals. I'm going to invest in a few factory sealed emeralds. Keep them in a vault. Give it 20 years, folks. We're going to outpace the dollar.
Ironically, Pokemon Gold and Silver aren't worth much, but Heart Gold and Soul Silver are like, those are like the poster children for like game from your childhood that now will cost you like, how much ice soup do you want to eat this month if you want to replay your childhood on a cartridge? And there's other ways to play these games, so it'll only get so bad when people can just do the thing that Nintendo doesn't like.
Yeah.
By that I mean putting Pokemon on Virtual Console. Heyo, give me Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Switch, you cowards.
They really should do that. Surprising that they haven't.
Yeah, they have that Game Boy Advance Virtual Console now on the Switch, but I have to feel like part of the reason they're not doing Pokemon like Virtual Console on the Switch quite yet is some mixture of maybe waiting for another console to do it. Like maybe they feel they missed the boat on the Switch for that, but also they're probably trying to do it themselves. Like they if it came down to it, I doubt Game Freak would want it to be on the all-in-one, buy your Nintendo Switch subscription, get 1,000 NES games no one played kind of model. They would probably want it to be their own like title on the eShop so they can get their cut.
True, there's probably some
Switch to Pokemon Virtual
debate.
Console, bank it.
That's likely to happen, isn't it? Or maybe it's like a break in case of emergency type thing, because they know it'll make money. So if they're ever experiencing some losses, just re-release Pokemon, some free money real quick.
Make another BDSP.
What do you think your favorite Pokemon game in the series?
It's maybe a little cliche, but I think Platinum just has the most stuff to do. I'm a very big stuff to do enjoyer. Like once you beat Gold and Silver, there's nothing to do. You can do the gym leader rematches that I don't think are in that game actually, now that I think about it. You can do the phone call rematches. You can battle your friends in the trainer house. You can maybe fill up your room with decorations, but like that's it. But like if you do Platinum, like you got your Battle Frontier, you've got all the underground stuff, you've got like Poke Radar. If I knew how to use the Poke Radar back when I was a kid, I probably would have every shiny that you could get with it. Like I was just out there doing stuff just for the sake of doing it because there was just so much stuff to do. And so like I feel like Platinum is really where they fully got into that, because like Heart Gold and Soul Silver are also pretty good about it, but Heart Gold and Soul Silver doesn't have contests. It only has like 11 ribbons, which is, I'm not going to say pathetic, but like,
It's pathetic.
this is your goat 11 ribbons over here. You don't even have 20 contests that are like the same 5 songs. But yeah, I did quite a lot of Battle Frontier even as a kid with terrible Pokemon. Like I had the Rotom's Room event, the secret key, as a kid, and so I had a team for the Battle Arcade that was Torterra, Rotom Heat, back when Rotom Heat wasn't even a fire type, and Moltres. And these were just random Pokemon, like random IVs, random nature. And I don't think I ever got a win streak above 20. I got to Arcade Star Delia once, and she obliterated me with her Ludicolo Rain team. Yeah, maybe if I had Rotom Wash, I would have won. But I didn't know at the time. Rotom Wash doesn't even get water typing in that game, so it's probably over for me even then.
That was a Gen 5 moment. It's a good answer, though. I enjoyed Platinum too. Emerald's my favorite, of course, but Platinum's another good one in terms of the single-player experience. Do you enjoy the competitive side of the games much?
I have done ranked. So, because there is the Master Rank ribbon, which I've had to earn a few times. So I enjoy watching series like, Road to Ranked from Aaron Cybertron Zhang. That's probably my favorite competitive VGC video series out there. Obviously, I watch your channel because you do present things in a very fun way. And then outside of that, I don't really interface with the competitive community a whole lot. I don't think I could cut it in a Pokemon tournament. Like, just being on the antechamber of the ranked matches, like the screen where you queue for ranked, I'm like, should I just like not do this and just like leave and become a hermit in the woods? That's kind of the vibes I'm getting from this. And so I don't think I could do a tournament for any sustained period of time. And I definitely could not cut it in the sort of format they have now, best of 3 open team sheets. I thrive when my opponents don't know what I'm doing or they misread what I'm doing, and then I just win from turn 1. Like in Regulation C, I was running Armor Rouge and Iron Bundle. And what you would do is you would flip turn your own Armor Rouge, proc weak armor, proc weakness policy, switch into Indeedee, set up Psychic Terrain, hit them with the +2 expanding force, and just take out 2 Pokemon on turn 1. That's all I do. Is I find a team where if you don't read what I'm doing or you don't stop what I'm doing correctly, I'm just gonna generate a game-winning amount of momentum. And so like you can't do that in a best of 3. You can barely do it in a best of 1. Someone has Rage Powder Amoonguss and you're cooked. So I do like following the competitive side of Pokemon, but I don't think I could really make it as a competitor, which is a little sad. I did have, aspirations to maybe one day win like a regional with like 5 Pokemon they wouldn't dare distribute and then toast the Scizor. And then like, what are you going to do? Not distribute my 94 ribbon Pokemon with a partner ribbon and a battle champion ribbon? Like, you're going to really distribute my Calyrex or my Raging Bolt? I'd like to see you try. But I don't think they would put the ribbons, like all the ribbons, on the event distribution. It is something that bugs me, that they've never used the regional or national champion ribbons. They've existed since Gen 5. Every single time they do like a regional giveaway or a nationals giveaway, or just any Pokemon that's won a tournament, they always use the battle champion ribbon, and it bugs me so much. Because those ribbons are cool, like you have them. Why have you never used them? And even the world champion ribbon, they've only ever used that once. And it was for Ryota Otsubo's world champion Crocodile back in 2017, and then just never again. And it's like, so that's like the one reason I would have to compete, is I want to win a tournament
to get the
so I can
ribbon.
make them distribute my Scizor with like a cherish ball and a partner ribbon and a battle champion ribbon, but like I don't think they would do it how I would want it done in my dreams.
I think if they did offer a rare ribbon for victory, you would find a way. You would solve the game.
They actually, back in 2004 and 2005, that was how it worked. If you won a Pokemon League tournament in the early 2000s at like Pokemon Festa, they presumably had some sort of distribution machine that would assign those ribbons to your Pokemon. Like we've seen a couple rental teams back in Sword and Shield that had the country ribbon and the world ribbon, which at this point are the rarest ribbons a Pokemon can obtain, is these early 2000s tournament winner ribbons. And so if they brought that back, maybe you'd see me out there at Worlds.
That's actually quite cool. I didn't know that. There's rare ribbons out there.
They also have maybe the best title, which is if you have the world ribbon, you can give your Pokemon the title of the World Conqueror.
That's awesome. I love that. When your sizzle ribbon video popped off, how did you feel about that? Because that video has gone to the moon. It's got 1 million views, I believe.
Yeah, so I really wish I knew what I did to make that. Like, I probably didn't do anything, let's be clear. But I really wish I knew what caused that sort of like meteoric spike, because like then I could do it again, in theory, you know. That's how you should always do it, is you should just you know, one thing pops off and you should just try to replicate that success until you wear your hands down to nubs, you know. But it was very surprising. Like it didn't do well for I want to say about 3 months. Like I released it June 1st, 2022, and then like just sometime in August, the YouTube algorithm was like, this is the one we will send to the heavens. And it jumped to like, I want to say like 180K, like by the end of August. And then it just kept going. And I was like, huh, I guess I'm a Pokemon YouTuber now. Because that was the one that the other videos before it, the Nut Pea Berry video and the Salamence video, they had done fine. Like, it's comparison is the thief of joy, you know? Like, you don't want to be like, oh, my videos aren't getting nearly as much as my other stuff, I shouldn't do that anymore. Like, these were getting like 1 to 2K, and like, you know, I should just go back to the old stuff because that was getting like 10 to 30K. But once that Sizzler video popped off, it, like, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. Like all the other stuff just like went up to like around 10K. And then I was like, huh, I guess this should just keep going. I'm not saying that I wouldn't continue doing Pokemon videos, because, you know, it was just me doing what I wanted to do, but it was a nice surprise.
It can be hard to pinpoint why something did better than other things and try to repeat that, because it's a common problem people have. When one video does well, they're not sure what to do next. And then when your next video is not as successful, sometimes it can be a slap in the face.
Yeah,
and a confusing experience. Like, oh, I thought I was a YouTuber now. You got to have consistent viewership.
That's kind of what happened with the Palkia video. Is like I published it, and like normally I'm like, I'd be happy if this got like, I don't know, like 5,000 views lifetime. And something about the Palkia video, YouTube was like, yep, that's another good one. We're sending that one straight up. And it did like 100K with like the first 24 hours, and I'm like, what is happening? Please tell me. I'd like to do it again.
Within 24 hours, wow.
And that one, I think, is sitting like second most popular video on my entire channel. And so like it is a nice feeling going from an edits channel and like sorting by like most viewed, and like it's all your own stuff at the top. Like it definitely is validating.
I had the same experience when one of my Pokemon videos finally surpassed, you know, Northernlion Judo Chop highlights. I was like, oh my god. I did it. I beat that one. That was a 7-year-old video.
Speaking of Northernlion, like when I was trying to figure out what happened with the ribbons video, I feel like I noticed like a pattern, and maybe it's just, you know, people claim to know what's going on with the YouTube algorithm, but, you know, I don't even think the engineers at YouTube can fully claim to know. But like, there's this one video of his, the Indie Pentathlon, that just keeps clawing its way back to the top of my recommended. Like, if I fall asleep with anything on, I will wake up to that indie pentathlon video. I don't know why, and I feel like just something in YouTube's system is like, this is the video we're gonna recommend to anything remotely related to this topic. And
it does do that
it's
sometimes.
just baffling. Like there's just like that one video that YouTube is like, watch it, please. We're gonna put it on every page you see. Just please watch this video. And if there was just like a way for us to like harness that energy, like maybe that's why it stayed a secret, is because no one's figured it out how to make a video that YouTube will just permanently recommend.
Well, maybe that's just hyper-specific to your interests or something.
I mean, it might be. Like, what's funny is every time I end up on that video, there's a little comment at the top that just says, hey, anyone else keep getting recommended that video? And every time I go down to the replies and there's a new person who's like, yeah, this keeps happening to me. So something's going on where like YouTube will just decide this is the video for that top. Everyone's gonna get this.
I think that they have been doing like, they will just push random-ish videos that
I
have like low views and just test them out.
I get a lot of Let's Plays these days that are just like, here's the game you're watching, but somebody who you've never heard of playing it.
That's cool. They're like giving a new channel a chance.
I do feel a little guilty if I don't watch them, but like, you know, I figure someone.
I think if it's a good video, it can do well off that. If it actually stands out and it's engaging, that's really the most important thing. There are quirks of the algorithm, like people talk about maximizing engagement, all this stuff. I think fundamentally it's just like, is the title gripping? Is the thumbnail fit with the title in a nice package? And then when you click on the video, are you getting what you expected?
Right.
And the algorithm mostly is just like, did someone click on this and then watch it? Then we'll recommend it more. And if a lot of people watched the video and liked it, engaged with it, then they recommend it more and more and it goes viral. You can kind of reverse engineer why a video did well in most of the time. Sometimes it's mysterious, like that indie pentathlon thing. Some other videos that randomly get recommended. Most of the time, you see a video and you're recommended, you're kind of like, I get why this is getting recommended to me. It makes sense.
Sometimes I get recommended my own videos and I'm like, I'm probably like, I'm not even my target audience for this because I've watched that video too many times. Because I made it. I don't want to hear this nerd talk about ribbons for the 8th time. I already had to do 7 passes.
That's a bad algorithm.
I mean, in some cases, I mean, by some definitions, it's working as intended when you think like, this guy likes Pokemon and Pokemon ribbons, and oh, wouldn't you know it? Here's a video that a lot of people have engaged with about that very thing.
They're good at it. If statement, like if from your own channel, don't.
I remember a long while ago, my dad bought some ad space on Google, and he was like, don't click on, if you see ads for our site, don't click on them because Google will know and then we'll get penalized for clicking on our own ads. And you'd think that would apply to the YouTube algorithm. They would be like, don't serve ads to the people, or don't serve these videos to the people who made them because they already know about them.
Never click on your own video or you'll get blacklisted from the algorithm, folks.
Yeah, they'll send out the YouTube ninjas.
And outside of Pokemon and Magic and Binding of Isaac, what are some of your other favorite games? You mentioned roguelikes or a genre you like as well.
Yeah, so honestly, like, I feel like I'm more likely to interface with a game if I know I'm good at it. And it's kind of a pitfall when picking games because like I want to play a game knowing as much about it as I can going in, which means for games like Undertale, like I'm more likely to just like spoil the entire thing for myself because I want to be good at it when I start. Like I want to be the guy who kills mom on his first Isaac run. And so like I'll go back to games like Don't Starve and Crypto the Necrodancer and Enter the Gungeon a lot because I know I can just like do a run of like Gungeon and, you know, basically just beat it because I like maybe it's a little boring knowing you're already gonna win, but like I get more out of the execution of good gameplay and knowing that I'm going to do well than like finding a new game and getting good at it.
I feel that. That's why I played Pokemon Showdown for over a decade because I just know that every mechanic. It's like a comfort zone.
I get hesitant to pick up new games. Like I'm trying to think. Let's do a little check on Steam. What's the last game I bought for myself? Looks like that would be Pizza Tower, which is actually a game I went in not really knowing much about, and I played the first level, and I still have not gone back to it.
You should give that another go. It's a great game.
I really need to. Like, I want to. I'm actually like the exact target audience for this game because I played Wario Land 4 all the way through multiple times as a kid. Like that's another game where I can just like go back in and probably like beat the entire game in like one stream. And so like I really need to just like force myself to play more Pizza Tower because like once I get good at it, I'm just gonna keep playing it because I like that's just how I play games.
That is a game that's all about refining, like playing the same level over and over and perfecting it too, getting the high ranks. It's really fun in my opinion.
It's a game that rewards mastery. And when my brain is like, hey, we're not masters at this, go play something else. Go play Spelunky so you can die in 70 levels and feel good about it.
Did you ever play Dust Force? That's a similar game where you just optimize the levels.
I have not.
That's a really good one. Any favorite games from your childhood?
So as a kid, I actually still have the 3 GBA systems me and my brothers got as kids. They're literally in my desk, like in front of me. Drill Dozer, actually another Game Freak game. If you play Drill Dozer, you'll be like, hey, that metal clanging sound is literally just the one they use for Metal Claw. And it was Drill Dozer, Wario Land 4, and Leaf Green were just like, I was playing one of those 3. And then Diamond and Pearl came out, and
I've heard of Drill Dozer, I've never played it. That's like the early game.
Yeah, it's good, but the later levels get up to some bad game design, I would say. Like if you want to 100% the game, the last challenge is literally just a corridor of collapsing blocks and laser tripwires, and if you touch one of them in a platformer, the entire floor disappears and you have to restart the level. And so it's just like, it's a good game, like it's a fun platformer right up until those last few challenges.
Some of those old games are like that.
Yeah, they definitely gave themselves a poison pill with Drill Dozer, because I mean, even as an uneducated, gamer kid, uneducated about gaming, not uneducated in general, although you could argue that of all kids. I saw the Nintendo Power review for Drill Dozer, and they made a very salient point. They released that game like a couple months before the DS came out, and it's like, yeah, you kind of
bad
timing, because no one's gonna want to buy a GBA game when there's literally a new console right around the corner. You can see a little bit of that Game Freak stubbornness with Porygon, because I believe the designer of Porygon based it on a conversation he had where somebody in the industry told him he has to make a 3D game because those are the new hotness. And so he made a 2D Pokemon that looks like a 3D model.
That's epic, actually. That's ownage.
Yeah, Game Freak, they have some spite in their heart somewhere.
Wario Land is such a good franchise. Underrated.
Yes.
You play the Game Boy ones? Those are
Wario Land
great.
4. I think 4 is just like, it's exactly like Platinum in that there's a lot of stuff to do. Like,
I never beat that game, but I just like it.
It took me until I was an adult to be able to get the last CD in Wario Land 4. As a kid, I was like, there's no way to get this CD. It was in the level 40 below fridge. You can definitely tell a couple like if you've played the original Wario Lands, you can definitely like you look at a Pizza Tower level and you're like, oh, it's this level from Wario Land. Like the fridge level from Pizza Tower is like a hybrid of 40 below fridge, and I want to say it was just called Magma Caverns from Wario Land 4, where it goes from hot to cold, and then the entire level's inside a fridge. And it took me until I was an adult to figure out that, like, oh, to get the CD, you just literally ignore the exit portal and go back through a little bit. Like, it was that simple, but as a kid, I was like, you can't walk by the exit and not go through it. That just doesn't make sense. And so it is nice to revisit those old games and do stuff you never could as a kid. Like, I want to say Leaf Green. I want to say it took me until, let's see, I actually have a timestamp for this because I made an Imgur post. 2014 was the first time I beat Leaf Green. Had it since 2004. Took me a decade because as a kid, I did that thing where you hold on to your starter and just use that for every fight. But the level curve in Fire Red and Leaf Green is just real not good. People have problems with the Johto level curve, but the Fire Red Leaf Green level curve dumps you out maybe like level 50.
I think I had a similar experience with Leaf Green, yeah. I was just using my Venusaur for everything, and then I'd hit the Psychic Gym, and I think they all just one-hit my Venusaur.
Yeah, and the first gym leader, or not gym leader, the first Elite Four member is all ice types. So like, whoops.
Yeah.
And But later, as a kid, I'm like, oh, I can buy the Magikarp at Mount Moon, and then by the time I get to Celadon, it'll be a Gyarados, and then I can buy the Thunderbolt and Ice Beams TMs, and then I can just steamroll the game with a Bolt Beam Gyarados. So it is
Genius.
definitely. I think it's worth revisiting old favorites with a fresh take. I can perfect maybe every level in DS Rhythm Haven, but I don't think I have, because my brain wants easy mastery, and having to do all those perfects in 3 tries kind of doesn't mesh with that. But I have beaten every Rhythm Heaven with at least a superb in every game. That's another childhood favorite, is Rhythm Heaven. Just because I got the DS one as like I want to say as like a 10th birthday present, and I just like played the heck out of it.
That's another awesome franchise. Very creative.
Yeah, the customization tools, they're not official, but like people have been making like programs that are just like you put in the inputs you want, and it like recreates the game to make it playable. And so it's like even if Rhythm Heaven hasn't gotten an installment since like what I want to say like 2016 for Megamix, the community is definitely thriving.
That's
right
cool.
now.
I feel like there's a lot of returning to old games now.
Yeah, maybe that ties into the spike in prices, because like everybody's like, oh, I'll check out Wario Land 4, and then there's not enough Wario Land 4 to go around. You can actually see that when Jaden Animations made her Rhythm Heaven Fever video, like the price of Rhythm Heaven Fever jumped up like by a couple tens of bucks. So I think there's definitely a bit of a nostalgia gold rush.
So I've been seeing that like the 3DS is becoming more popular too recently, which is interesting. People just miss that kind of handheld. The Switch isn't quite the same as like 3DS, DS, Game Boy.
Call me when the Switch has a Street Pass.
That was fun, yeah.
I used to bring my 3DS to school, and I would get like 14 to 20 Street Passes a day. And I actually hatched a shiny Porygon in the middle of class, and the teacher did not care. Luckily, I'm not a disruptive shiny hunter. Like I went like, yes, or something like that in the middle of class, and they just kind of looked at me weird.
Playing DS in the middle of class? What's going on there?
I was done with my work anyway.
Okay.
But I think if I had more intense shiny reactions, I might have gotten written up for that one. But yeah, you would just bring your 3DS to school and get so many Street Passes, like all these games that had like not necessarily premium features, but like games like Tomodachi Life and like not necessarily Smash 4, but like they had all these features that were like gated behind getting a lot of Street Passes, so it was nice. Now I didn't have Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire as a kid, so when I did a lot of Battle Mason, because I wasn't going to do like online battles, but like I wanted to breed competitive shinies and, put them to the test. And I did a Scizor. It wasn't shiny. I could never get the Poke Radar to give me a shiny Scizor, because the patch that Scyther spawns in that game is just horrible for radar chaining. But I trained up a Scizor for the Battle Mason, and one of Scizzor's best moves in Gen 6 is Bug Bite. Get that Technician boosted stab Bug Bite on your Mega Scizor. But you can't learn Bug Bite on Scizor in X and Y. So I didn't like stalk them, but I like camped out next to another table of kids who had 3DSs, and I was like, hopefully one of them is playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And then when I heard them talking about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I was like, hey, this is going to be a weird question, but can you teach Bug Bite to my Scizor? And so I traded them a Scizor, and I traded them the Scizor and asked them to teach it Bug Bite. And I was like, yeah, you have to go over here and then like talk to this guy, and then you just like trade in some BP. And then luckily they had the BP stored from Pokemon Bank, because it would have been really awkward to ask them to like, oh, you mind like going and doing some Battle Mason battles so that you can teach this random stranger kid's Scizor a move? And so they were able to teach Scizor Bug Bite, and I think that Scizor is still in Pokemon Home to this day.
How fun is that? I feel like that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, nowadays I just like, TM for Bug Bite, go destroy the scatter bug population and then go to the TM machine.
I feel like
I'm
the old
self-sufficient
handhelds
these days.
The old handhelds were built around socializing and trading and all these mechanics, and Pokemon itself was. It feels more disconnected now.
Right.
And I feel weird approaching someone with a Switch. You can approach someone with a 3DS and be on a trade, but I don't know. The Switch isn't the same, folks. It's a good console, of course, but it doesn't feel the same as the other handhelds.
The vibes are off.
Anyway, I think we've been talking for quite a while here, and I've got some videos to
We have.
edit and stuff. But we'll end things with one final question from Justin Fabella, who asked, "Weapon of choice? Question mark? What is your weapon of choice?"
So, as a kid, I slept in a room that had a door to the outside, and as a kid, I was just like, what am I grabbing if somebody comes through that door who doesn't belong to this family? And I think I think I ended on jar of tomato sauce, because it's heavy enough to hurt when you hit someone, but if it breaks, then you got broken glass and you got tomato sauce in their eyes, and no one's coming back from that. And then if you're strong enough, you can just lob that at them. It's got range, it's got melee, it's got a little bit of bleed damage. I think it's
incredible. There you go.
An untapped potential for weaponry.
Who needs a gun, folks? A jar of tomato sauce will do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. I have similar thoughts. Like if a home invader comes in right now, what have I got in my proximity that I can defend myself with? Like a snow globe
Which
or
of
something.
these Pokemon plushes on my shelf?
Oh, they're not doing anything.
Most?
Infernape's
I don't know. That
Flare
Arceus is a pretty spiky. I probably wield him like a set of brass knuckles.
Well, fantastic answer. Thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me. And
thanks for having me.
Happy to collaborate if you ever want to. Let me know.
Yeah, maybe I'll do some showdown and you'll do some ribbons. We'll see who's better at the other's domain.
I'm gonna be trash at the ribbons. I'll get bored within 5 minutes.
I don't know. There is one for competitive battling. You never know.
Get top 1 on the Gen 3 OU ladder.
I've thought about doing that thing where you get into the ranked ladder right as it resets and try to get to master rank before anyone else, so you can claim you brought your favorite to rank 1. Maybe one day.
Well, stay tuned for that, folks. Thank you very much. Catch you later.
Bye-bye.